It's the most talked about movie of the year, the most profitable movie of the year, one of the most successful horror movies of all time, and I'm happy to join the chorus of people saying it's all deserved. Obsession is the real deal. Whenever a movie reaches the kind of success Obsession has, that once-a-decade star-making 9-figure box office phenomenon, people want to dissect every element to figure out why it resonated so profoundly. And that question is always most interesting when the movie in question is actually quite simple. This isn't a Christopher Nolan or Wachowski film. It doesn't require 45 minutes of exposition, it wasn't adapted from literature or theory, and it didn't set out to diagnose the human condition or capture the zeitgeist. But it might have done so anyway, and that makes analyzing it all the more fun. The takes run the gamut. Is it a nightmare reflecting modern anxieties about consent? Or is it codependency? Does the film expose the incel toxicity lurking beneath the nice guy routine? Or is Bear a sympathetic figure, just the victim of outrageous circumstance? Maybe the whole thing is a manifestation of the horrific intimacy crisis plaguing young people today. Well, the thing about capturing the zeitgeist during a time when nobody can even agree on what defines its values is a movie can't afford to be too obviously any one of these things. To land to the degree this film has, it has to be all of them, and in a sense, none of them. A culture-defining movie these days has to be more a Rorschach test than a hot take. It can't slam you over the head with an obvious message. It has to send people out of the theater with conflicting, but equally defensible interpretations. This is almost an impossible target to hit, a hallmark of the most sophisticated storytelling, and it looks like a 26-year-old YouTuber just pulled it off. And he does so by anchoring it all in one question. How innocent is Bear? Is it okay that he wished away Nikki's agency even if he didn't think it would work? Is it okay that he went along with it even if he had no other practical options? Did he do the best he could given an impossible situation? Or was he toxic all along? And what does our reaction to these questions reveal about the state of intimacy today? Well, to find out, we're gonna have to go deep into what may prove to be the most influential movie of the decade, break down some famous be careful what you wish for stories, and uncover the absolute genius of the One Wish Willow. Let's dive in. But first, a quick recap. Obsession follows Baron, a music store employee who pines after his co-worker and close friend Nikki. Too timid to confess his true feelings, Bear purchases a novelty item called a One Wish Willow and wishes for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world. And it works too well. Nikki becomes a shell of her former self, only living to obsess over Bear. At first, Bear goes along with it. Hey, maybe dreams do come true. But her behavior grows increasingly bizarre, then suffocating, then violent. When Bear tries to reverse the wish, he discovers the only way to free Nikki is for him to die. Meanwhile, their coworker Sarah begins to reveal her feelings for Bear, and Nikki responds by murdering her with a brick to the face. Bear attempts to have his friend Ian make a counter wish to cancel it out.
I wish for $1 billion.
It doesn't work. In the end, Bear tries to take the only exit available to him, but right then, Nikki uses a willow to wish that he return her love. Their ecstatic, crazy love only lasts seconds, as Bear soon dies, and the curse is lifted, leaving the real Nikki screaming at the nightmare she's just woken up to. The end. The question of Bear's innocence is rooted in the storytelling tradition Obsession belongs to, the be careful what you wish for tale, most famously rendered in classic stories like The Monkey's Paw, King Midas, The Fisherman and His Wife, and modern ones such as Pet Sematary. Like in Obsession, all these stories feature someone making a wish that sounds like it's going to turn out great, and it doesn't. The lesson is, well, be careful what you get it. These tales tend to resolve in one of two modes, tragedy or morality tale, and the difference comes down to whether or not the protagonist deserves what happened to them. In a tragedy, the main character's motivations are sympathetic and their downfall is wildly disproportionate to anything they actually did wrong. It's cosmic cruelty. Take, for example, The Monkey's Paw. The White family acquires a mummified monkey's paw that grants 3 wishes. Mr. White makes the very modest wish of £200 to pay his mortgage. The next day, their son is killed in a work accident, and the company offers him exactly £200 in compensation. Then Mrs. White tries to wish for their son back, and that turns out even worse. The story doesn't offer any strong judgments about the Whites' character because their only sin is wanting to pay the mortgage. The punishment is so vastly out of proportion to the crime that there's no lesson to extract other than maybe don't f with the universe. It just evokes dread and pity. On the other hand, a morality tale usually punishes a specific flaw like vanity or greed, some form of desire. In the myth of King Midas, a king already living in obscene luxury is granted a wish and asks for everything he touches to turn to gold. At first, it's all good, until he realizes he can't eat without turning his food into gold. He basically wished himself into starvation. In a later children's retelling, he even accidentally turns his daughter into gold. Stories like this aren't about fate being cruel. Unlike the whites, Midas isn't owed our pity. His greed, his desire for wealth above all else, put him and those around him in hell. The question is, which one is obsession? If Bear is innocent, if real Nicky and his suffering is the senseless fallout of a foolish monkey's paw style mistake, then it's a tragedy. If Bear isn't innocent, if his fantasy was toxic all along, it's a morality tale. And I'd argue the brilliance of the film is it depends on what you bring to the story. Let's start with the wish itself. Bear takes the one wish Willow and says,
I wish Nicky Freeman loved me more than anyone in the f***ing world.
And then it happens. But unlike King Midas, Bear didn't think it would work. It was something closer to a joke or a moment of idle private fantasy. Condemning people for what they think when they don't believe it'll come true isn't something we typically do. Legally and morally, intent matters. So since Bear lacked the belief he was altering reality, his innocence at the moment of the wish is pretty undeniably still intact. However, while he may be innocent from the perspective of intent, is his fantasy innocent? That question hinges on something the film is vague about. How exactly does the One Wish Willow work? Does it twist the wisher's desire into something monstrous like the monkey's paw, in which case the fantasy is innocent, just catastrophically perverted by the willow's magic? Or does it fulfill the wish perfectly, like Midas, in which case what Nicky becomes is a precise reflection of Bear's fantasy? If it's the latter, you can read the wish as the moment the nice guy facade slips and whatever resentment that's been brewing underneath comes to the fore. If Bear has been suppressing anger at Nicky for treating him as a friend rather than as a man she could ever want, then maybe robbing her of agency is what he actually wanted. Remember the guy at the New Age store who complains about Bear's energy?
But you can't come in here with this energy, man.
He claims to have already made a wish.
You can make a wish.
I already used my wish,
Oh,
man.
please.
And yet he seems fine, or at least it's not evident that he's been ruined by a cruel cosmic twist, which would support the reading that the Willow fulfills wishes as intended. After all, the film provides plenty of ammunition for this incel resentment reading. Nicky spends much of the first act casually emasculating Bear. She makes fun of his pina colada.
Don't make fun of my drink. What?
I like a man who's in touch with his feminine.
Calls the bartender babe in front of him.
Open or closed?
Oh, open, babe.
Won't let him pay for a drink, and on the phone is explicit about what she wants from him, his brain.
Aw, Bear, no. I wanted to see you tonight. We need your brain.
Even the lightest gesture toward romance gets shut down hard.
Get your girl home safe.
Ew, don't say it like that.
And yet no frustration surfaces in Bear's behavior. When Nicky starts acting strange, Bear does everything a textbook nice guy is supposed to do. Despite her aggressive flirtation, he insists she go home.
Must be pretty up.
Yes, I know. Which is why I think you should go home.
When she ends up at his place anyway, he offers up his bed and goes out of his way to prove he isn't taking advantage,
Take all the space or time that you need.
is constantly concerned about consent,
You kiss me!
I know, I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry, just... You made me feel like I did something you didn't like.
No!
and ends up sleeping on the floor. Think of it like the movie Barbarian, another home run horror debut that plays with this dynamic. Spoilers, by the way. The stellar first act is built around the audience's inability to fully trust Keith, even though he says and does everything a safe, well-meaning progressive man is supposed to say and do.
But there's no way I'm sleeping in the bedroom while a young lady is sleeping on the couch. I thought you wouldn't want any if you didn't see me open it, so I waited.
Despite the correctness of every gesture, the suspense only amplifies because Tess and the audience can't help but suspect that there's a will toward domination hidden beneath the progressive performance.
There's a lot of bad dudes out there, and it sucks.
Obsession is playing a similar game. Because we don't know how the Willow works, we don't know which Bear it listened to, the harmless nice guy or the vindictive creep we suspect lurks beneath. Kreger and Barker, these guys are freaking killing it, man. Then their relationship enters the honeymoon phase. They cook together, make music, generate cute AI images. Boy is living his dream. But at this point, is he taking advantage of her? Well, for a while at least, he has plausible deniability. Since the world is established as one in which magic is not understood to exist, it's understandable for Bear to default to a rational explanation. Nikki, for some reason, happened to fall in love with him. Can he be responsible for accepting something he believes was freely given? He gets up in the middle of the night to check the One Wish Willow reviews, which affirm what he wants to believe. Of course, magic isn't real. That's the genius of the One Wish Willow. If the wish had been granted by a wand-wielding fairy godmother or a genie in a lamp, the magic would be undeniable. But it's a dinky tchotchke found at a New Age store in Burbank. The gap between novelty toy and reality-altering supernatural artifact is so enormous that Bear's denial isn't obviously delusional. It's far more plausible that she's struggling with her dad's diagnosis or just took too much Molly.
I was on MDMA.
And if being with him helps her through trying times, who is he to tell her what she does and doesn't want? But that defense has many holes. First of all, if someone is going through a mental health crisis, the decent response is to help them get back to normal, not go along with it because it aligns with everything you've ever wanted. Also, there's a damning shot during the wish scene where he looks back to the Willow box as soon as Nikki starts acting freaky. So he suspected magic early on. Then too much weird stuff happens. The cancer lie, the cat sandwich, the duct tape on the door. It becomes impossible for him to deny. So he calls up customer service trying to get the wish altered or reversed and discovers two things. It only ends when he dies, and the real Nikki is trapped in some kind of hellish limbo.
Do you want to talk to her? What? Who? You want to talk to her?
He definitely waited too long to make this call, so if he's to maintain any shred of innocence, he has to act now. But what is he supposed to do? If the only remedy is the ultimate sacrifice, can he refuse and still be innocent? Is it not better to just try to make the best of a bad situation?
Sounds to me like you have a moral obligation to be there for her.
In almost every ethical framework, we don't hold people morally culpable for failing to sacrifice their lives, even to correct a harm they caused unintentionally. So his refusal to die doesn't inherently destroy his innocence, it just means he's not a saint, and one doesn't need to be a saint to be innocent. It's a no-win scenario. He either ends it, something that by any reasonable standard he couldn't be expected to do, or he keeps living with a nightmare and the real Nikki remains in hell. Starting to feel more like the movie might be tipping into the monkey's paw tradition. Sure, he was opportunistic and took advantage for too long, and that's messed up. But even if he didn't, even if he did the right thing and went immediately to the hospital or to a psychiatrist, nothing could have reached her, and he'd be in the exact same situation. Two people have been destroyed by forces disproportionate to anything either of them did wrong. On the other hand, if this is the logical fulfillment of his fantasy, then this is the scenario he deserves, part of his punishment, and the evidence for this reading is everywhere. After Ian's disastrous party, the real Nikki, speaking in her sleep, begs Bear to kill her.
Kill me, please.
But Bear refuses, saying,
What would be so bad? What's so bad about being with me?
Notice his answer isn't, no, I could never do that to you, or no, I'm not a murderer. He doesn't even say, I'm sorry. He makes it sound like her soul-splitting torment is an overreaction. This is the response of a guy who on some level still thinks he was the one being wronged, that he was owed something for being the guy who was always there for her.
You know, you're the only person that I get to really talk to about this stuff.
And when you look closely at what the wish actually produced, the morality tale reading becomes more persuasive, because what Nikki actually becomes, if you take away the weird walking and the cat cooking, is essentially a Stepford Wives-esque automaton designed exclusively to validate a man. Before the wish, Nikki dressed with an individual flair, indie, casual, a little grunge. She had her own style. After the wish, all that is gone, replaced by something much more classically feminine. Her red outfit at Ian's party just doesn't feel like it fits her. Then after Sarah's killed, Nikki puts on Sarah's clothing, even copying her tattoo. Because Nikki is gone, all there is now is a continuous recalibration toward whatever Bear might want. Before the wish, Nikki quit her job to chase her dream of being a writer.
Just not happy there.
I mean, it's just a job, Nikki.
Yeah, well, I want to write.
After the wish, these aspirations vanish entirely. In fact, she takes the object that represented her own ambitions and gives it to Bear so he can chase another form of writing.
It's a tiger's eye.
Wow.
It's supposed to bring you confidence and willpower, so now you can be a food critic.
She cares only about packing his lunch, waiting dutifully for him to come home, and ensuring him that she'll maintain what he really cares about.
I'm gonna be pretty again.
You're so beautiful.
So maybe it is a morality tale. Maybe the lesson is simple. Magic didn't condemn him, the toxicity of his own desire did. Even up until the end, the ambiguity persists. Bear does take the customer service guy's prescribed route to end the curse, but is he doing it because he's overwhelmed by guilt and wants to finally do the right thing, even though he tries to back out? Tragedy. Or is it because with the bodies piling up, he realized he has no other options? Morality tale. Maybe he never really doubted the Willow's powers. Maybe the apparent non-existence of magic was a convenient cover he was banking on so he could keep living his fantasy. I mean, it does seem like he only tried to change things once Nikki's behavior became a problem, not once he became convinced of the magic. Through this lens, the movie leads decisively toward morality tale. But I guess my problem with takes that don't afford Bear even a modicum of empathy is that they're too self-flattering. People are pretty confident that given a convincing cover story and the life of their dreams, they'd just walk away. If you lack the rock-solid certainty of your absolute nobility, the movie might read more as a tragedy. But as to which one it ultimately is, it depends on how you react to the story, and although I have zero data to back up this assertion and hesitate to generalize, I can't help but suspect this fault line might largely fall along the lines of sex. One of the reasons the movie resonated so profoundly is because it reflects how, in our tech-saturated, atomized, and poorly socialized society, the sexes are horrified of, yet no less obsessed with each other. Women fear a man pining after them while hiding under the veneer of a nice, friendly ally. They fear that the man who has been supportive and unthreatening has actually been keeping score the whole time, and that underneath the performance is an entitled fantasy that she never consented to be the object of. For women, I'd wager, the film reads as a morality tale. Bear's punishment is cosmic justice. In any reading, Nikki is undeniably a victim. Whereas for men, there's the terror of being trapped, of codependency, of a love that turns into control, but also of having desires that are increasingly incompatible with a changing world, desires they can't express and can only manage through a performance that nobody really believes, including them. They fear condemnation for desiring too much, or in the wrong way. For men, I'd wager the film reads more as a tragedy. Bear's punishment feels disproportionate because his crime, wanting her privately in a moment he thought meant nothing, is all too relatable. And this is why I'd wager Obsession has shaken the world. It took a single scenario and revealed a huge gulf of experience, one that forced us to realize just how radically different our perspectives on modern intimacy have actually become. But really, I'm curious what you all think. Which reading do you buy? Is it a tragedy or a morality tale? Or is the question itself the point? Sound off in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel because my next video is maybe on Backrooms. I'm still pondering on an angle, but hopefully I'll figure something out. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Take it easy. Peace.